Another great example in the pharmaceutical case, I mentioned earlier a little bit about laboratory information systems and some other applications that are all using a lot of the same information, a lot of the same content. And one of Loftware's focus is to not reinvent the wheel, if you will, or rebuild a duplication of effort. So in this particular case, we're acquiring information or gathering information from these existing data sources to supplement the ever-changing needs on these labels, particularly in a controlled industry like pharmaceuticals. So similar to the chemical industry example, there are requirements in terms of not only pictograms, but information, lots, serial numbers, and so on that needs to be applied to these labels, and also content in terms of description, health and warnings, and so on that are also controlled in other systems. So as we expand the horizons of these systems, this labeling application actually was down at the manufacturing line, but the data was not there. All right, they're making the product. The data associated with labeling the product was coming from external systems. So by, again, printing the same label through the file drop mechanism, adding the connector to go out and source additional information from an external data source allows us, again, to expand the footprint of the existing labeling system and taking advantage of the other data sources that are already present in this particular customer's environment. So this particular filter or rule is what we call a data lookup. And again, this is essentially doing a database query to, in this particular case, it was, I think, a SQL Server database, where we're doing, again, a JDBC compliant database, a query out to this data store to retrieve particular product information based on that product ID that was passed in the original file. So the original labels we're printing with particular information that we can then key off of as database key values, if you will, to go get that information out of the data store real time during the printing process, again, without having to modify the host application or change the files that are currently used to print those labels today. So this is a very, very powerful feature because the data lookup method can not only do database queries, it can also call Java store procedures, it can also do cursor procedures, and it actually can do Java class methods. So it has an extreme high power to do essentially anything that's needed to supplement that print request on the fly at print time. And as you know from Loftware, we're geared for performance, throughput, high availability. The connector is not going to slow that processing down, and that's why we put this logic at the beginning of the printing process, so that you gain all the throughput and speed you need to still maintain the printing performance you need at the back end.